Welcome to Shameless Leadership. I'm your host, Sarah Dean. This show is for women leaders who are committed to advancing both their own leadership and the leadership of those around them. In each episode, I offer practical strategies and inspiring stories to help you become a more confident, compassionate, and curious leader. The truth is, you were born to lead. So let's start now, together. Hello, Shameless Leaders. I'm so excited to be here today because I'm celebrating my 50th birthday. So I'm recording this the day before I turn 50. When you hear this, I will be freshly 50, a few days into turning 50, and I'm sure I'll be feeling very 50 and very fabulous by then. For this episode, I wanted to do something a little different, a little bit fun. And so this will all be connected to being a shameless leader, kind of in a more loose way, but I think also in a helpful way, and also in a way that just allows me to do a bit of a deep dive into like what is the wisdom that one has at 50? Someone was telling me the other day about like the pride and wisdom that they started to feel after they turned 50 and well into their 50s. And that you would just have this sense that like, I know some things. And I was laughing because I feel like there's been a lot of ages that I've hit where I'm like, I know a lot now. And there's been ages that I've hit where I've thought, I know all the things now. What I know now for real, is that you never know all the things, but I do appreciate feeling like I know a lot of things in a more humble way, maybe than in past milestone birthdays. And I also know that I have so much more that I'm still going to learn, and that actually feels really exciting. And that ties into some of what I'm going to share in a little bit. I really embrace knowing there's more to come that I don't even know about, that there is like things that are going to land in my path that I have no clue that they're coming, that will flip my life upside down, good ways, bad ways, but in ways that all provide lots of lessons and lots of learning. And that actually feels exciting. I think that I've really learned to embrace growth, and that growth feels good. It feels exciting, and it feels better to me than monotony. As someone who really grew up thinking I loved things to stay the same, change felt very scary and overwhelming and daunting to me growing up. And I think that I really embrace now, like uncertainty in a certain way. I don't love uncertainty that is paired with fascism. So let's be clear on that. But like uncertainty where like lives are on the line, not into that kind of uncertainty, but knowing that there are so many things that are still going to happen in my life that I can't plan for and that are going to be amazing surprises. And also hard surprises. I was talking with a friend the other day about hard magic, I decided to call it. So a friend who was going through something, and she actually celebrated her birthday just a week before me. And I was like, I'm wishing you a lot of magic this year. And then I said, and I know, you're going through a lot. And so I said, maybe it'll be hard magic. Like you're going through this hard thing and there's going to be magic that comes with that. And I hope that that's really valuable to you. And so we started laughing about like, what is this hard magic thing? Because the truth is that we do go through big phases of growth, oftentimes during hard things. And that can actually be really magical. And I'll be talking about that in just a minute as well. So with all that said, I want to talk about 5 lessons that I've learned in 50 years today. At first, I thought I should talk about like 50 lessons I learned in 50 years, and that just sounded way too long. That would take me many hours to get through because I talk way too much, and I would lose you all. So I'm going to go through 5 lessons learned in 50 years. And I think that these will be relatable in a lot of different ways. And I also encourage you to think about how you could maybe tie these lessons to your life. And because they definitely tie to women being in a certain stage in life. Also, they tie into leadership in different ways. And so I think that they will resonate. So the first lesson actually comes from my 13-year-old son. Something that he says all the time when he's not saying 6-7, which is the thing he says the most in the world, although he told me that's going to be done at the end of 2025 and that there will be a new saying for 2026, which I'm already dreading. But when he's not saying 6-7 to me all the time, he'll always say, Mom, it's not that deep. And I kind of get annoyed by it. But also, one of the things I've learned at age 50 is it's not that deep. And I come from growing up thinking that everything was very deep. And I have a history of assigning like too much emotion and pressure to situations that don't require that much emotion and energy and pressure. And I'm real good at making little things a really big deal, which is just costs way too much energy and energetic resources. And so I've learned that almost everything is not that deep. And so if things go great, great, but be prepared because 10 minutes from now, they might not still be great. And if things are going horrible, it's not that deep because 10 minutes from now, they're probably going to be less horrible. So recognizing that so many things are not that deep. And when we overly invest energy in things that we think are the end of the world, or that we start catastrophizing or overly like analyzing or ruminating around, we can really hold ourselves back in terms of giving time, energy, resources to the things that matter more, or the things that we can control, or the areas where we do have opportunities to show up, get what we want, be productive, like enjoy our lives. And so I'm reminding myself all the time, like my kid says, it's not that deep. And especially in moments where I feel like I'm over expending energy on things that probably don't require that much energy, which also is a good reminder that when things are not that deep, you can recover from anything. And so I think that one of the things I know now is that things can get messy and I can figure them out. So nothing's really that deep in terms of like how badly you might screw it up, which leads right into my number 2 lesson. So my number 2 lesson is around being messy. So my second thing that I've really started to embrace in the last few years, and I feel like has taken so much pressure out of my life, is that being messy and imperfect is actually more fun and creates more opportunities. And so as someone who really likes to get things right and do things really well and likes to be the person who does them the best, I have really learned that doing things in an imperfect way and being a little messy, not messy in a way where you're causing harm. So let's be clear on that, but doing things messy where like you don't have to have every T perfectly crossed, every I perfectly dotted before you take an action step or before you move forward with something, in order to get the thing done, in order to make progress, in order to move forward. And when we can do that, when we can do things without having to be overly perfect and without overly curating everything, it's more fun. Everything is more ease-filled and more doors open for us. When that happens, when we can do more things and have more doors opening, it also means, going back to it's not that deep, that no one thing has that much power over us. And so if we're constantly being highly perfectionistic or trying to get things just right before we finish them or before we share them with the world, we end up having fewer opportunities to show up and share ourselves. And when we have fewer opportunities to show up and share ourselves, every opportunity counts more and there's more weight to it. And of course, we want to create big opportunities and we want to show up as our best selves. So this isn't about being recklessly messy, but when we're consistently showing up, trying new things, putting ourselves out there, staying in momentum to make things happen, there's enough things happening at any given time that if one thing doesn't work out or one thing gets overly messy or fumbly, it's not that big of a deal. We have our hands in other arenas and other jars. There's eggs in other baskets. And so one thing not working out, or one thing, getting a little messy or having a delayed timeline or whatever the case may be, it's not that big of a deal. And I really think about this when I think about how many no's I've had to get in the last 5 or so years with my work. I have pushed myself to get myself out there and ask for things over and over and over again, and getting the asks out there more quickly, getting the asks out there in higher stakes ways and higher volume, which means getting way more no's. But also when you're getting more no's, there's they become less significant every time. And you get more yeses. So the more no's you get, the more yeses you get. And so if I get more no's, it's like no big deal because I know I'm going to keep putting myself out there at the same pace. And that means eventually I'm going to get to the next yes. So like whatever no I get is just one step closer to the next yes. So that idea of being messy and imperfect, it opens more doors to more opportunities. It's also more fun because everything is a little bit lighter because again, it's not that deep. So number 3, the third thing that I've learned in 50 years is that learning about the worst, in air quotes, the worst parts of yourself is so freeing. I think that as a high achiever and over functioner and high producer type A kind of a person who really likes to get things right and be recognized for getting things right, I, for a long time, didn't want people to see that there are things that I'm bad at or that I might make a mistake, or I might do something where I'm like, have to apologize for someone, maybe even apologize publicly for something. And in trying to make sure that none of those things ever happened, I didn't have the chance to look at the, again, quote unquote, worst parts of myself. So the things that are maybe harder for me to accept, or where I have a lot of room for growth, some of my weaknesses. And what I've learned in the last few years is that learning about my shortcomings, learning about the things either that I'm not naturally good at, or things where I maybe bulldoze other people or put my foot in my mouth, or my propensity to, take up more space than someone else in a room or a meeting or whatever. Learning about those, again, quote unquote, worst parts of myself has been really freeing. It's like exposing the thing. It's like exposing a secret then it's no longer a secret. And again, it takes the weight out of it. And so learning that there's things I'm not good at, learning that there's things that maybe are annoying to other people, and then being like, cool, now that I know that, I don't have to wonder. I don't have to wonder and worry, like, what if someone finds out? Or what if they don't like this about me? I've had other people in my life say to me, like, the older you get, the less you care what other people think. And I think this is part of that. Like, I don't care that much if someone doesn't like the way I do this, that, or the other thing. I don't need to be for everyone. Some people can be annoyed by me. Learning about that, like other people's intolerance of me, maybe, again, is like, it's really freeing to know that, I don't know, some people might really hate the way I do a certain thing. Cool. Like they can choose not to be around me. And I used to put a lot of weight into worrying what other people thought. And not that I never think that anymore, but I for sure am far less concerned about that. And so recognizing that, like, there's going to be things that people don't like about me, and that's actually kind of freeing, that I don't have to try to be perfect for everyone, that I don't have to try to please everyone, that there's nothing I can do to control what other people are going to think or say or do. And so I'm going to just be me, and I'm going to be the best version of myself that I can be on any given day. And some days that's not going to be that great. And that's going to be okay. And I guess then again, that goes back to, because it's not that deep. Maybe that's the overarching lesson of my 50 years. The fourth lesson is that I've learned that protecting the best parts of yourself is crucial. And so I've definitely been in situations, and I can think back to, like, even in middle school, in situations where if I thought I had done something wrong, or if someone didn't like me, or if I thought a teacher was mad at me, or if I thought I upset someone, that I would get so fixated on it and be so worried about it that I couldn't give the best parts of me to anyone, because I was using so much energy trying to fix or control or overmanage the situation that I didn't have a lot of control over. And I've had this show up in some really specific ways in relationships over the last few years. And in recognizing that there's certain dynamics around certain people that I can't change and that are not worth my time, I've also been able to recognize that when I get really fixated on those things and ruminate on them, that it takes away the precious energy and time that I have for other people. And so our time and energy are these two finite things in our lives. And if I'm so fixated on this person over here who doesn't matter that much to me, but I just don't like it that they're mad at me, or I don't like it that we disagree on something, and if I'm overly fixated on that, and then I'm being cranky with my family in the evening, like, who's getting the best parts of me, right? So I think about this a lot when I think about my work, when I think about engagement with people who I'm like, I don't think we see eye to eye. And why am I going to try to make it be different than this? There's definitely family members that I've had to step back in a relationship with because I was letting them get the best parts of me, because I was giving them all my, like, highest energy to worry about something I couldn't control. And then I didn't have my best energy to give to my son, my husband, my closest friends, my favorite clients, like all the things that actually really matter, that I actually can have some control over. So learning and understanding that it's so important to protect who gets the best parts of you. And then also recognizing, when do I get the best parts of myself? And so the second part of that one is thinking through, when do I reserve the best part? When do I reserve my best energy for me? And this is something that can be really, really hard for me to do because I do have so many demands on my time because I love to have my hands on all the things. And so between my work and work in my community and being in grad school and stuff with my family and wanting to be like at every single thing that my kid does as much as I can be while he'll allow it, which is less and less at age 13, there's definitely times where I'm spread so thin that I don't give myself the best of myself. I don't save time for me to do the things I really, really want to do. And this came up actually recently. I was on a business trip. I was traveling to speak and lead a training. And I got into town. I was flying into a different city, and I got into town, got to my hotel, and I had like 2 hours to kill before I had to be anywhere. And I looked at my map of where I was, and I was like, oh, there's this like outdoor mall that's supposed to be really cool, just like 2 blocks from me. So I was like, oh, I'm going to walk over there. And I walk over there and I go into the store, and I spent like an hour and a half in the store just wandering, trying clothes on, shopping for myself. It was so fun. And I sent my friend a message afterwards, and I was like, I literally just had the most fun I think I've had in like 5 years, because when's the last time I went to a store and just tried on clothes for an hour and a half? I never do that. In fact, I usually get my clothes online. It's really anticlimactic. Like I was saying to my friend, I'm like, the dopamine hits different when you go into the store and you try on the clothes and you're like, oh my God, this is so cute. Rather than I'm going to order it in 3 sizes. Hopefully I like one of them. I'm going to send a couple back. Like that isn't rewarding in the same way. It's not fun. It's kind of like checking a box. Like, okay, I know I need these things to wear. I need something for this event, or I need, something that fits better for the season or what have you. But I'm telling you, like going into the store and trying on clothes and not having anyone have any needs around me was just amazing. I left literally with a bigger bag of clothes than my carry-on for this trip. So I didn't check any luggage. I walked out of the store and I was like, how am I going to get this stuff home? Because the shopping bag I walked out with was bigger than my luggage that I brought. So that was a whole situation that I had to deal with. I was able to make it work, but it was pretty funny. I bought two coats. That was part of the problem. Like 2 coats, 2 pairs of jeans, a few shirts. I mean, it was a whole situation, but it was so much fun. And it was this reminder that when do I let me get the best parts of me? And why don't I do that more often? And so that was a huge wake up. And so thinking through who gets the best parts of you and how are you going to give those best parts of you, that best energy that you have that is finite and limited, to the people that deserve it most, including yourself, and not to the people who don't deserve it, not to the snarky boss, not to the nasty coworker next to you, not to the neighbor that always has something to complain about, not to the family member who wants to go down some rabbit hole about some political thing where you're never going to change their mind. They're never going to change yours. You're always going to be at an impasse. Like, who has time? So really thinking that through and being really aware of who gets the best of you and where you make those energetic and time investments. And then the fifth lesson that I've learned in my 50 years is finding the magic in the mundane things. And so when we're finding the magic in the stuff that's mundane, it really becomes a superpower. We had to do this in COVID. And I remember doing this in COVID. Like I remember very vividly doing this in COVID because it felt like the only way to keep going every day was this time my son was 7. And I remember every day trying to find something that because everything felt so scary. It's hard to remember how scary things felt back then. I've given that some thought recently, but things felt so scary from like a health standpoint. I was so scared of like what would happen if someone in my family got sick. My mom, who was in her 80s at the time, that felt really scary. Then also this fear around like what's going to happen in our work lives and with my business and what's going to happen with my kid going to school or not going to school. How long is that going to last? So there was just like so much fear, and every day having to find magic in really little things. And I remember trying to do things with my son every day. And so we started eating lunch out on the back porch every day in the sun and playing board games for like 15-20 minutes during lunch. And that became like finding the magic in the mundane. And while it was so burdensome and cumbersome to be home for so long with this child who was in 2nd grade at the time. No, he was in 1st grade. He was in 1st grade at the time. So he was in 1st grade doing online school, trying to manage that. He needed something every 20 minutes, I swear to God. And it took me 20 minutes to get refocused every time I sit back down at my computer to work. And then he would need something again, like immediately. It was just this like vicious cycle. But being able to find the magic in the really mundane things. So in the eating of lunch, in taking the dog for a walk, being able to carry that over into present day things has just been a game changer. And so I really intentionally think about like when I'm again walking the dog and I can feel the warmth of the sun on my body. I'm like, oh my gosh, I love that so much. When I get up in the morning and I'm sitting drinking coffee on my couch before anyone else in my house is up, and I put a really cozy blanket on me, and I'm like, oh, love this so much. Every time I turn on my heated mattress pad, I think about this. Every time I put on, I got like these new cozy slippers. I'm laughing because I have a lot of pairs of cozy slippers. All of them just bring me so much joy, but I have a new pair right now that are like UGG knockoffs that I got. And every time I put them on, I'm like, oh, they're just so soft. So taking that like little moment to just notice like, oh, I love putting my slippers on. It makes a big difference. And it really makes getting through mundane parts of life that happen every single day, no matter how great the world is or how hard the world is, it makes it so much better. And I feel like being in a season, an endless season that feels difficult and uncertain as we are right now with the state of the world, being able to find really little things really matters a lot. When we just went through, if you're listening to this in lifetime, we just went through this like 10-day period where air travel was compromised, and there was this big cutback on flights and cancellations and all sorts of things. That 10 days was the busiest 10 days of travel I've had all year, and maybe in a couple of years. And so like I had to travel. I traveled 3 times during that 10 days to 3 different cities, a couple days in each one with like a day home in between each time. And that's not a normal travel schedule for me. And I was very much like, why is this happening? Why am I like, easily my most chaotic travel season of this year of 2025? Why is it like literally exactly lining up with these 10 days that this flight stuff is happening? And I thought, what I know is that I've always felt like travel was really novel. I didn't grow up getting to travel. I went on a plane 2 times before I graduated high school. One time to go to California, and one time to go to Florida with my friend's family. So my mom took me to California one time, and then my friend's family during high school took me to Florida. So I got on a plane 2 times before I turned 18. So for me, when I get on a plane, it feels really fancy. Like going to the airport, there is a novelty about it that feels fancy and that feels luxurious and that feels like, I can't believe I get to do this. And I was talking about this recently with a group of women who travel a lot for business. And we were kind of comparing travel notes. And I said, like, I always feel excited and grateful because it was something I didn't grow up with. And so again, it's finding the magic in something that might feel really mundane, especially if you're in airports a lot and, 10 days of wild and weird flight stuff happening. So for me, it helps me keep a feeling of wonder and appreciation. And I feel like if I can keep connecting to that sense of wonder and appreciation, it keeps me moving forward, and it keeps me looking for the good and the positive and the things that I can control, or the way that I can emotionally regulate when there's things happening around me that I can't control. So that part feels significant. As you think about lessons that you've learned over the course of however many years you've been around, I would love to hear from you in terms of what are lessons that you've learned? What do you take with you? What are some of the unexpected things that you have learned and acquired with age that impact you on a regular basis, on a daily basis? If you're watching this on YouTube, I hope you're appreciating my dog doing a whole entire like yoga stretching routine behind us. If you're not watching on YouTube, you should totally go check it out. It's pretty amazing. So I want you to think through what you've learned in your years here, and also how those lessons can stay you connected to yourself when times get tough and when things feel hard and when you feel that lack of control because of the world feeling uncertain or unpredictable. So again, it's not that deep. Being messy and imperfect is more fun and creates more opportunities. Learning about the worst parts of yourself can be super freeing. Protecting the best parts of yourself for others that matter most to you and for you is essential and crucial and critical. And finding the magic in the mundane is an absolute superpower, and it's one of the very best superpowers. So Thank you for being here. Thank you for being part of my 50 years, whether you are a new listener, whether you've been here since episode 1 back in March of 2016. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you listening. I don't ever take it for granted that we get to be in this together. Again, finding the magic in the mundane. There's times when I sit down to record and I'm like, whoa, here we go. I've done this almost 1,000 times. Am I still feeling excited about it? Like, mostly yes, but some days I'm feeling a little tired. And also, I'm always so honored that I get to be in your ear. And when I think about that, when I think about one person listening, I get really excited. And I feel like it is something that not everyone gets the chance to do. So I don't take it for granted. I don't take it lightly. I'm thrilled to be in your ear today. I'm thrilled to be in this with you. And I'm thrilled for all that we have to come in the future in this journey together. So until then, as I always say, I'm in this with you always. And thank you for being in this with me always as well. Thank you for allowing me to spend time in your ear today. If you liked this episode, be sure to subscribe to this channel. To learn more about my speaking, training, and coaching services, visit sarahdean.com. That's SARADEAN. I would also love for you to connect with me on LinkedIn at sarahdean.com/LinkedIn or on Instagram at sarahdeanspeaks. I love hearing from my listeners. Thank you for showing up for yourself today. I see you, I hear you, and I'm holding space for you today and every single day.